the damn camera. What's going on, everyone? It's Vu with NVU Films here, and gonna have a little comparison done today. And of course, I can never get my lights right. Anyway, as you can see, I'm dressed like an Asian nerd because I just got back home from my day job, and I gotta make sure I look professional, you know. And I'm cheap, so I gotta make sure I turn these lights off. I'm not trying to pay for electricity bill. But yeah, so just got off work and gonna try to get this review set up, ate some dinner. Y'all lucky that you cannot smell my breath through the camera because it smelled like some straight dry fish and rice that my mom was kind enough to drop off at the house randomly. But yeah, so we're gonna get this comparison of prime lenses for the Sony Alpha series cameras set up, and particularly the Alpha 6300 and 6500. So let's get to it. Alright, I have here 4 prime lenses for the Sony Alpha series cameras. The one that's currently on the camera is a Sigma 19mm f2.8. Here I have a Sigma 30mm f1.4, a Sony 35mm f1.8, Sony 50mm f1.8. And you know, this comparison is pretty much to show the differences and to maybe help you decide if you're in a budget for just one prime lens, which one will be best for you. Me, as a wedding videographer, I use all 4 with 3 different cameras throughout the day for various reasons. And the reason why you would want a prime lens over a zoom lens to begin with is primes, well, what I've read is they don't have as much moving parts inside the lens as a zoom lens. You're able to zoom in and out, versus prime lens is a set focal length the whole time. So because of that, the image quality is usually better, and most of the time you're able to get a lower f-stop, so you can shoot better in low light. You get a better depth of field in your shots, which is it's when the object is in focus on this plane. So like if it's my face that's in focus, everything that is before me is blurred out, everything is behind me is blurred out. So the lower the f-stop number, the more dramatic that effect is, versus the higher the f-stop, it's, I guess, the depth of field is not as nice. It's not, the focus isn't as sharp, and then there's more things in focus in front and behind me. So but the main thing that is for me with the prime lenses is just the fact that they're such good low light lenses. So I'll start off with the first lens I bought, which is this Sony 50mm prime lens f1.8. And the reason why I bought this one was because everyone said 50mm is like like the perfect focal length in terms of your sight or whatever. But I think my confusion was that that's for full frame cameras. The cameras I have is an APSC crop sensor, so this 50mm lens is actually equivalent to 85mm. So it is a little bit too tight. I mean, it's as tight as Justin Bieber skinny jeans or something, like it's really tight in there. So I would have to move way back, and I can never get the proper shot. However, this is good for me for static shots during like a wedding reception where I need to really get, it's a low light reception or ceremony, and I could get a nice close-up shot of a bride or groom's facial reactions or something from a pretty good distance away. And also on top of that, I can use clear image zoom, which I'll demonstrate in a bit with each of these lenses to show you all how it works. And that's that. And my next one is the Sony 35mm 1.8, and this is a great lens too. And I'm going to just pick up also the Sigma 30mm 1.4. And you wonder why I have pretty much two of the almost the same lenses that is like 5 millimeters apart. I got this one because it does f1.4. I do not use lighting at weddings at all, and I really wanted that f1.4 for low light situations. And two, I find that 30 millimeters is actually the best focal length for me to use all day. I feel like it's tight enough, where I could get like the types of shots I want, but at the same time, it's wide enough for me to not have to like scoot all the way back, which I had some problems with this and a lot less with this. And like I said, if I really need to move in, I could always use clear image zoom on the Sony cameras. Lastly, I have the f2.8 19mm lens on the camera right now, and I use it primarily for vlogging. So if you are a vlogger, or if or if you are a vlogger, this lens here on this camera, the Sigma 19mm f2.8, will probably be your best bet. The aperture doesn't get as low as the other three, but it's low enough for vlogging use, and it's wider than these other three. So I can hold it at arm's length like this if I'm vlogging while walking or something like that. I could still get a pretty good shot of my face, my shoulders, and things behind me. Versus these are way too tight. I actually tried to vlog with the 30mm, and it was all up in my face. It was all up in my face like an Asian lady at the grocery store trying to button line or something, just all up in the way. So it's not good for vlogging, I don't think, but for filming, this one's the way to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an object that I'm going to film with each of these lenses, and I'm going to have it at the same exact spot, and I'm going to just change the lens as I go, and you'll see the difference in like how close or how far each lens is to the object. And the object I'm going to use is, I guess I'm going to just use my DJI Mavic. So here, the first lens I'm using is the lens that's on the camera, the Sigma 19mm f2.8 at an aperture of 2.8. So I'll set that same aperture for the rest of the lenses too. And this is how the focal length is. And now I'm going to do Sony's clear image zoom to demonstrate how close I can get with the prime lens with clear image zoom with this current Sony Alpha A6500. 1.1 times, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2 times zoom. So this is with a special, and as you can see with Sony's, I don't know how they do it. It is not the same thing as like a digital zoom or something. This is literally a clear image zoom system inside the A6300, A6500, and the Sony A7S series cameras. You're able to zoom in with prime lenses using some type of function in these cameras that Sony developed, and it looks really good. Here I have the Sigma 30mm f1.4. So now this is how it is standard, and I'm going to do clear image zoom on this one too, up to 2 times. And this one is a Sony 35mm f1.8, and I'm going to go to 2 times zoom, slightly closer than the 30mm. And now I have the 50mm f1.8, and I'll do the 3 times zoom. It's pretty impressive that it's able to do this. I'm not going to get I'm not gonna get too scientific about this kind of stuff because I really don't know anything about it. I just go over, the price range for all of these things. The Sigma 19mm is about $199. The Sigma 30 is $339. The Sony 35 is dirty as hell. I believe it's like $369, $359, and this Sony 50mm is around $249. So I feel like I'm a freaking Vietnamese lady at the dang supermarket. $249. So yeah, based on these prices, which lens should you pick? That's entirely up to you. If I was going to try to start off doing videography and I needed one prime lens, I would definitely get the Sigma F1.4 if I have a Sony Alpha 6500. If I have like a 6300 or 6000, I would get the Sony 35. The reason why I say this is because this autofocus is not as quick as the Sony ones. It's still fast. It's just not as fast as the Sony branded lenses, and its manual focus is kind of weird. I think it's like some type of electrical type. I don't know. It's just weird. It's not as precise as the Sony one. So with this A6500, if you're having issues with manually focusing, you could always do tap to focus on the screen and it's able to focus for you. And because I have that capability, and I prefer to use this lens every time I can. Also, another thing to point out is the Sigmas do not have image stabilization, and that's why it works better for the 6500, because 6500 has image stabilization built into the camera, which I think is like Sony's 5-axis stabilization system, whereas the older ones like 6300 or 6000 lenses, it doesn't have stabilization, so it's useful to have stabilization built into the lens. So if you want one very versatile prime lens for you to film with on this, if you have Alpha 6500, definitely the Sigma, and if it's anything lower than a 6500, get the F35. I would not recommend the 50mm lens. It's just too tight, and you could always get tighter by moving in or clear image zoom, but you can never get wider, and it's good that these are better for that. And if you're a vlogger and if you're planning on doing videos like the way I'm doing right now, I think the Sigma 19mm f2.8 is the best. It's the best way to go. Also, I plan on using this lens on my gimbals too, especially in low light situations, versus the wide angle lens I have, 10 to 18mm zoom lens that I usually put on my gimbal now, because I just actually got this lens, just to vlog. So I'm actually going to end up using it for gimbaling as well, because 19mm is relatively wide, and the low light capability is a lot better than the f4 of the zoom lenses. And look, I apologize if this is not like a scientific thing. I'm just reviewing it based on actual usage. Like, I actually use these lenses a lot, and from my experience, I'm just telling you what I think is best, for each situation. And if you were just starting out as a videographer or photographer, I mean, you cannot go wrong with the Alpha series cameras and these prime lenses, to start. It's crazy because, as I demonstrated, that clear image zoom on these Sony cameras, I mean, it really helps eliminate needing to use a zoom lens all day, and you have the versatility of the lower aperture and low light capability and all that good stuff. So if there's anything, other questions you have with regards to these lenses, cameras, whatever, just let me know. Shoot a comment. If you like this video and you want to see more content like this, please hit like and share and subscribe. Thank you very much, and until next time, I will smack you out of here.